Okechukwu joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
I appreciate for being with you, and good evening, viewers.
Good evening to you. Now, you've publicly appealed to Atiku to withdraw from the 2027 presidential race and allow the South to complete its turn. Why should he sacrifice what may be his last opportunity to become president simply because of an unwritten political convention?
Thank you very much, Charles. I'm talking in the interest of our dear country. His Excellency Atiku is a man I respect a lot. He was very close to some of my big brothers, the late Dube Moya and the late Chubo Kadibo. I have great respect for him. And what I'm appealing to him is that he should consider the interest of the Nigerian state, our fledgling democracy. Because about 3 years ago, he did the same thing by breaching the rotation convention. And the collateral damage is heavy. Heavy in the sense that luckily for the Nigerian state, the democracy remained, the country remained, but the destabilization of the PDP had its own collateral damages that cannot be quantified. In fact, the damages got to his backyard, because if in 2022 he had acted as statesmanship, which I'm pleading with him, that it's not too late to become a statesman in a country like ours. If he had said that in 2014, I walked away from the PDP, telling the then President Jonathan that it's the turn of the North, and joined the APC, I think we were less than 1 year old when they joined us in protest. And he contested for presidency with us and came third. Buhari came first, Kwankwaso second, he came third. And he went back to PDP. And in 2018, presidential primaries of the PDP, no Southern aspirant participated. In fact, Wike, then governor of Rivers State, was chief host. In obedience to the rotation convention. By the way, he couldn't have been vice president in 1999 if the big goons then were flamboyant.
You mean the big guns?
Yeah,
because when you say goons, it gives a sort of different sheen. But please
okay. Yeah. Let us say the big wigs of both the PDP and the APP then, the defunct APP. There was the flamboyant Abakarimi, Umaru Shinkafi, Adamu Chiroma, Dr. Shola Soraki, and others, who were, by any standard, if they were on the turf, Obasanjo that I know as a statesman could have said, okay, I don't want to compete with them. God, thank you for just coming out safe from the prisons. And they all said, no. The Nigerian state is more important than us. Yes, we can talk of merit, but without the country, merit will be of no consequence. They swallowed their own ambition and allowed the zoning to start, upon which the law fell on President Obasanjo, who now chose Atiku as vice presidential candidate. If Rimi had contested in PDP and won, Atiku couldn't have been. And Obasanjo could have defeated Rimi by any standard. So what am I saying? I'm saying that when he breached it in 2022, the consequences in the PDP had made, because most of the time I will see him talking about one-party state. President Tinubu is engineering one-party state. He forgot, or deliberately, maybe deliberately, he grossed it over and swept it under the carpet that if he had allowed a Southerner to contest with President Tinubu, even if PDP had lost, PDP could have remained strong. Somebody like His Excellency Fintiri, his governor, would have no need to come to APC. And we in APC could have had benefited from what democracy provided. So you checks and balances.
Right. So you basically, your contention is that the actions of Atiku Abubakar with regard to zoning, his counteractions to zoning, has become the agent provocateur that has put the PDP in the position that it is, and that has had a knock-on effect on Nigeria's democracy.
It did. It did substantially.
But as
Charlie, let me be honest with you. No matter how benevolent a leader is, or how good a group is, if you do not have strong opposition, that's both in the National Assembly, it wouldn't be yes there. It could have been balanced. Before you throw...
That's an important point. That's a very important point. But as I'm sure you know, there's a counterpoint. And his people would say that, and they've made that argument repeatedly, that Nigeria's constitution, which is the Bible by which this country is supposed to operate, doesn't recognize zoning. But if the constitution gives every qualified Nigerian the right to contest, which it does, why should zoning override constitutional democracy? That's number one. Number two, suppose the most competent candidate in 2027 comes from the north. Should Nigerians reject that person simply because it is supposedly still the turn of the south?
Can I tell you something? Throughout history of man, in the public domain, there are two issues. The law, as you said, with its legal teeth, and the convention with its moral weight. And at each point in time of history, especially in democracy, is always weighed. Where does this favor? For the collective interest of all. Otherwise, in elementary class, you lived in England. Why did they say that the British people have, what they have is unwritten constitution? Because they're
driven by convention rather than written constitution.
And that shows you
the weight of convention
and the utility of convention.
Yeah, you have a point.
Which His Excellency Atiku Abubakar recognizes.
Yeah.
But I do not want him. I want him to be a statesman. It to be unstatesmanly to cherry pick.
Yeah, but let's
when it suits you.
Yeah.
And when people like the Southern Amalgam, hold on.
Yeah.
When people like the Southern Amalgam comes on board, okay, do this, do that, they might be self-serving. No statesman considered such. I will let you know that on June 4th, 2022, when some people were pondering this idea in our camp, in the Buhari camp, the APC Northern governors threw up a stinker of one-page advertorial saying we are qualified. We have brilliant people that have everything to add to the Nigerian state if they preside over the Nigerian state. But for the common interest of their country, we are going south. The next evening, Buhari invited them. Your Excellency, everybody let me know what they are doing. They said, sir, we don't need to let you know, sir. Though it's not in the constitution of the APC, but we feel that where we are, we don't want the North to be accused of dominating any part of the country, or any part of the country to dominate the North.
Yeah.
That for the safety and our growth, we're a young democracy. Let us go this way.
Yeah, but,
so it's not about logic of...
I understand
but we are talking of strategic thinking.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what's going on now? They know that the patriots in the North are telling them that, please, this is the turn of the South. Why don't you allow them to finish? What are they doing? They're now trying to go around to fan ethnic embers. That is not healthy. That's my fear. I'm a beneficiary of the Nigerian state. If not for the Nigerian state, I couldn't have found money to go to university.
Yeah, but I
owe a lot.
Right.
If I see this,
I understand the point you're making. There are a number of things here. One is that British convention that you talk about is not just based on, convention and, unwritten. I mean, they say the British Constitution is unwritten, but a lot of it is actually written because a lot of it comes from precedent, from courts. It comes from stuff that are decisions that have been taken that have become law as a result of the fact that they were taken. So you may talk about a codified document called a constitution, which they don't have, but they have a lot of written documents that they use to govern themselves. That's number one. Number two, in the APC that you belong to, what is the strength of that convention? How has it manifested itself? Because a lot of people would have said that the people who originally conceived convention, which is people like Alex Ekwueme, who was the former vice president of Nigeria, who is now late, but his idea was for it to represent each zone in the country and be able to give people a sense of belonging. Why is the APC, because in the APC there was a strong argument for the Southeast in 2023 to be the people who were going to run for office. I mean, where were you then? What was the logic that removed them from the equation and it became this sort of broad southern thing, when clearly a significant part of the tripod that makes up Nigeria had been left out of the equation? I'm talking about because you're focusing on the issue of justice, and I'm wondering where you stand on that when you're making this argument about South. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Let me come to your point. First, I'm happy that you've laid the foundation of the convention in Britain. Do you know that in 1848, the Swiss Federation were tampering unwritten. They were practicing unwritten convention of rotation. But by 1890, they now put it in their constitution. 1948 to 1890, before it entered their lines, they were observing it. And it made Switzerland one of the safest places on earth. That's why it's a financial hub. Because those who own money do not bank their money where it is not safe. And we want Nigeria to be safe. On the issue of the APC, for God's sake, in 2003, President Buhari of blessed memory nominated Atiku Okechukwu as his vice presidential candidate. And we went to Igbo land and advised them, we know you are embedded in PDP. This is a new coalition. If you don't join this coalition, when this party comes to fruition, it might be difficult. What happened? 2023 about, we left. 2027, the same Buhari made Right Honorable Ebinu Umezuke his vice president.
In 2007, not
2007, sorry. Made Right Honorable Umezuke his running mate. We didn't get any vote from the East. 2011, he tried the Yoruba land first by going with Bakare. At 2015, we now formed the APC. And luckily, what Atiku could have done years back was what President Tinubu did. When some elements in the Buhari camp where I was a member were saying, sir, we don't know what they are doing with Tinubu. Do you trust him? Buhari made a simple, he was then living in Asu Drive. In a crucial meeting, you know what he told us? He said, if you are doubting Tinubu, this man told me he's not running. How? They said, no, you don't know what? He's a friend to Atiku, he's a friend to Kwakwa, so they came from the same household. He insisted, he told them, if the man is running, I will believe you people, but the man is not running. Luckily for us, at the close of nomination, form nomination purchase, Tinubu did not buy. The last meeting was held, and he said the convention should hold in Lagos. And Buhari agreed. Okay, why did you agree? Yeah, you are going to a clean range. You want to bury you in Lagos politically. You are gone. They gave us a hotel called Intercontinental. Midnight, eve of the convention in Lagos. I think it was 14th December or thereabout. Tinubu came. We wanted to go out from he said, Buhari, don't tell them to go out. I want them to be here to hear what I'm saying. I have all the delegates in the Southwest for you. Delta, Edo. Do you have your own? Because I went around the northern side. You are not sure. So please go around this night and get your own. I have my own. And to prove him right, at the end of the election, Buhari topped by over 1,000 delegates.
Right. Well, look, I've got to move on because I'm almost out of time here.
So I'm saying that the Southeast is aligned to PDP. It's Atiku that disappointed them. Because they gave all they have.
Well, let me put it this way. Some argue, obviously like you, your argument is that zoning promotes inclusion.
And unity.
Others argue,
unity in a divided country.
Others argue that it reinforces ethnic and regional divisions. And the fundamental question has to be, has zoning actually united Nigeria, or has it made Nigerians even more conscious of where their leaders come from? In other words, the failing to create the thing that you believe that it set out to create.
It did not divide Nigeria further, and it didn't breed violence. What I'm afraid of, if you know the number that died in 2000,
the psychological damage.
If you know the number that died,
the psychological damage of the divisions within this country,
Charlie,
is almost equal to physical violence. It's a kind of psychological violence that has been done to the people of this country by this extraordinary focus on ethnicity. It's a devastating thing that is almost as bad as being physically violent against someone.
It's not as the worst case scenario that is ultra hatred is when you do not south and you go around in the night letting them know that these people have come again. That's what I want to avoid.
Right, okay. Well, let me just say that Atiku Abubakar's people have a right of reply if they want to respond to the things that you have said, because we try to be as fair and as balanced as possible here on Arise News.
Do you know?
I've literally got 1 minute, so...
In their camp, they are aware that the good patriots of the North will not vote for them, and they are aware they won't get voted.
Well, you're saying that that's an assumption. The election hasn't taken place.
I'm being honest. You're being honest.
You're being partisan.
No, I've been in partisan politics for 48 years, Charles. I'm not a new in the business.
Yeah, but you're
grounded in the business.
Yeah,
and my fear is that let them not stoke ethnic violence. That's my fear. That's what I'm bothered about.
Well, that's an assumption. There's no precedent.
I agree with you.
Atiku has taken part in many elections in this country, and there's no precedent. There's nothing to suggest that he is sitting there or trying to induce some form of violence as a measure of protest. That has never happened. So I'm not really sure.
Remember, you made a reference to say that this is the last card. You could see how
he said it himself.
He said he wasn't going to run again. See how angry Messi was yesterday. Why? Because
Messi wasn't angry. He was remorseful. He was sorrowful. He was.
That's what I'm saying.
He cried.
He knew.
That's the difference.
He knew it was the last outing, and when it is the last card, the poker, the last card is always dangerous.
Right, okay. On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. It's lovely to see you again. Osita Okechukwu is an APC chieftain and former Director General of Voice of Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
I appreciate it.